Hello, and welcome to the Covert Knits podcast. My name is Abigail Covert. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is my podcast where I talk all about my knitting and yarn adventures. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my podcast. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. Again, my name is Abigail Covert. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Covert Knits. I'll put the information right down here for you. And all of my show notes, including links to where you can find me, are included in the down bar below this video here on YouTube. I am coming to you today on Saturday, March 13th, 2021 from Omaha, Nebraska. And I am so excited to be back with you after just a couple of weeks since my last podcast. So let's go over a few things, what we're going to talk about today. I don't have any major admin stuff, but I do have some questions for the viewers. So if you stick around to the end, I will go over those and hopefully you guys can respond in the comments and give me some feedback. So today's topics, we've got what I'm wearing. We have 2 finished objects, 3 works in progress, a little bit of stash enhancement, not as much as previous episodes, my knitting goals, and then again those questions that I talked about. So that's the schedule for today's episode. It should be a much shorter episode than the last few that have been over an hour long. That's not my norm, but now that I hopefully am back on a more regular podcasting schedule, these episodes should be back to more closer to the 30-minute mark, which is kind of my goal. So let's jump right in with what I'm wearing. I knit this last year. It is the Kingston tunic by Andrea Mowry. You can find it on Ravelry or maybe her website. I'm not sure if she sells her patterns on her website. It is not super size inclusive. It does go up to a relatively large bust size, but it is has a lot of positive ease built into it. So just to kind of keep that in mind, it is a paid for pattern. I knit this for the Quiet Queers Craft Along that was hosted last summer. And this was my entry for that. It's beautiful. I used a gorgeous farm yarn. It's 100% Rommeldale from the Foggy Bottoms Boys farm out in California. So it is pilling just a little bit, but not too bad. And I haven't de-pilled it. I haven't used my gleaner on it at all. So I love the seed stitch detailing, the big cowl neck. It has a split hem. I won't stand up. I'm wearing pajama pants, but you get the idea. It's one of my favorites, and it's just cool enough today here in Nebraska for me to wear it maybe one more time for the season. So thought I'd get it in today on the podcast. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. Got my trusty tumbler of water here. So let's jump right into finished objects. I only have 2 this time, and they're both hats. So got everything piled up here. Let's see here. Okay, so my first FO, I don't think either of these were cast on the last episode, is this beautiful hat. This is the Winter Walk hat by Tracie Millar of the Grocery Girls. It's got this beautiful cable detail, a little bit of garter detailing, and then it's stockinette here on the back. Okay, so this is a paid for pattern. Sorry, I have my notes down here so I don't forget anything. It is a paid for pattern. It was $7 Canadian, which when I checked today was about $5.85 US. So it's a $7 pattern, $5.85 pattern, excuse me. I knit it using Barrett Wool Company Home Worsted. I've got the tag here, which I've had this in my stash for quite a while. So this is their tag. It's 100% American wool, Barrett Wool Co. And this one is the colorway Ellie Gray. So I love it. This is what I have left. So, shadow today. So I didn't weigh it, but I'd guess I have probably 40 grams left out of the skein, maybe a little less, but I can definitely get another child size hat out of this. Okay, continuing on. I used the needles it called for in the pattern, which was a US 6, 4mm for the brim, a US 7, 4.5mm for the body of the hat. I knit the size medium. I think there are 3 sizes in the pattern. I knit the size medium. I used a pom-pom from Yarn Bowler that was purchased from the Grocery Girls Knit website. It'll be linked below. They sell pom-poms exclusively from Yarn Bowler on their website, and I bought quite a few of them. I really like how they look. This is the large size pom-pom. Here's the tag for that. So you can see down here it has the L, that's the large size. Again, Yarn Bowler from Grocery Girl Knits. And it is one of the pom-poms that has the rubber stabilizer and the grosgrain ribbon, so you can tie it on and remove it as needed. So. It's very warm. I'm not sure if I'll keep it or if it will be a gift thrown in the gift pile, but I really like it. I've had this yarn in stash for quite a while. I've even had it wound up for quite a while. So, but I could never find, that perfect yarn pattern combo, and this just made those cables pop. I think I knit this in about a day. I'm almost positive I got it done in an afternoon. It was a very quick, relaxing knit. While it does have the cables in it, they were not difficult, especially if you've cabled before. I did use a cable needle. I felt like with this pattern it needed it, but I've done without a cable needle as well. But this pattern, I liked the cable needle for it. So yeah, that is my first FO, hat number 1. All right. So my second FO is, as I said, another hat. This one is the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague, which if you spend any time on Knitting Community Instagram, you'll have probably seen this. It's very popular right now. It's not a new pattern, but I think a much more popular podcaster than I was knitting it, and it has gained popularity. I saw it and I knew I had the perfect yarn for it. So this is a very interesting pattern. It is a paid for. Again, it's by Ysolda Teague, but you knit one big long tube, you cast on, you knit a big long stockinette of tube, and then you decrease and cast off. You increase and decrease. It's a double thickness hat. It is an any gauge pattern, which means that you actually, as everyone who's a regular podcaster knows, I don't really swatch or gauge swatch, but on this you knit part of the top and then you gauge swatch from what you've knit, and you figure out how big your hat, how much you have to knit. It's a very interesting pattern, again, paid for, so I won't give too much away. Okay, so the yarn I used Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, which is one of their DK weights. It's a DK weight, 100% American Targhee wool. The colorway is Rainier. So this is what I have left of ball 3, which I did use some of. So this took a little over 2 balls of the Arbor, which are 50 gram balls, 145 yards. So it took a little over 300 yards for the size I knit, which I knit the adult large using US 7, which is the 4.5mm needle, to get the gauge that I needed. Again, adult large, US 7, DK weight. It is an any gauge. You can use any yarn you want. She does suggest in the pattern that DK is the heaviest you might want to do, and I think some of that's just because it's a double thickness and it's a quadruple thickness at the brim. So much heavier than DK, and unless you live in excessively cold climes, I don't think that you would need it. So this is actually a gift. This one I know is a gift. So you can wear it like this, which is probably how the person I'm gifting it to will wear it. But you can also flip it down here and wear it like that. So this is a gift for my dad. He's actually already seen it. I told him he couldn't have it until I showed it on the podcast. And he was fine with that, and he won't really need it till next winter. I've knit him quite a few hats before, either out of acrylic yarn, which is great because it's washable, but doesn't really keep him as warm, or out of nice superwash yarn, which again is nice because it's washable, but he's had some issues with it being warm enough. He's doesn't have a lot of hair on top, so I wanted to make sure that he had a hat, especially for those really cold moments, which there aren't a ton here in Nebraska, super cold moments, but you know, he is a little bit older, and I just want to make sure he had something that would work for him when he needs it. So that is my Musselburgh hat. Let's make sure I've covered everything. Yes, this is also a paid for pattern. It was $5, 5 pounds, excuse me, 5 pounds, which as of today was $7.29 US. So, but I will be making more of these. I've seen quite a few in fingering weight, and there's definitely some skeins of yarn back here that I think would be great to do for myself in a fingering weight version. So that is hat number 2, project number 2. And again, this is what I had left of all 3. I just used the tiniest little bit. I just used it for the decreases at the end of the hat. So I got the entire rest of it out of the first two balls. Again, adult large was the size I knit. Okay, so let me flip pages here, get to my whips page. Started making more in-depth show notes so I can make sure I don't forget anything when I talk to you guys. Okay, so I've got 3 whips. One of them you've seen before. The other 2 are new cast-on since last time. And several things that I showed last time I have not touched, so you won't see them today. Okay. So, this is being housed in one of my all-time favorite bags. This is my Whimsy Stitches bag. I love it. It's got this fun rainbow print inside, a leather handle that just gets better with use, and then it's where I've kept a lot of my rainbow and sock pins, because this is the pin I use the bag I use for socks most of the time. So I've talked about all those pins on previous episodes. You can go back and watch if you're interested. Okay, sorry. This project is my Mina's 2 at a Time socks by the Knitting Expat Designs, Mina Phillip. I have worked on these a little bit since last time. I am knitting, as it's called, 2 at a time. Cuff down. The yarn I am using is Mud Punch. And this is her Endeavor fingering base. And the colorways are Little Pink Stars for the speckle. And then the contrast is this beautiful red, and it's called Blistered Heart. And it came as a set. I bought it several years ago. Again, I pulled it from Stash, which I've been doing a lot of lately, pulling yarn from Stash. The Arbor, Brooklyn Tweed Arbor for my Musselburgh hat, also pulled from Stash. I'd had that for several years. So I've been really enjoying pulling from Stash lately. Okay, so I have knit the legs and put in the German short row heel, and I've knit about 10 rows on the foot. I do 64 stitches on a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. Again, I do them two at a time. These, I believe, are Addies that I'm working on. I don't really have a preference for needle. I have whatever I have in my stash is what I use. I did a little bit of the contrast color here. I cast on and did just 1 row with it, and then I switched to the main color. I did 2x2 ribbing for 20 rounds. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat meowing. He really wants in here. Then I did 60 rounds on the leg. I did the German short row heel that comes in the free pattern. The Mina's 2 at a Time sock pattern is free. She does have a vanilla sock pattern that is paid for. That's a little bit more in depth about heel and toe construction and things like that. So if you are new to sock knitting and you want something that has a little bit more detail, definitely check out her vanilla sock pattern, which again is a paid for pattern. But I've been using this one for a really long time, so it's just kind of my default. I don't even look at the pattern anymore. I just have it memorized. So I do mark my every 10 rows with stitch markers. This one I've kind of matched my stitch markers to my yarn because I'm weird like that. It does have some pops of orange in there. I think you can see it. Oh, this yarn is gorgeous. I love it. So these are just my sock knitting, vanilla. Just if I'm chatting during a knit night or anything like that, they're a good pattern to work on because I don't have to think about it. I can just kind of go and I can count my stitches and then add stitch markers as needed. Let's see if I forgot anything about that. Nope, that's about it. So socks, I hope to have these done by the next time I record. And this will be I believe this would be my 3rd or 4th pair for the year. I'm trying to do average about 1 a month. Maybe not in the month, but okay. Put these away. So that was whip number 1. Whip number 2 is this one. Sorry, that shook the camera. Okay, this is being housed in one of my bearded pearl bags. Here. I've had this for a really, really long time. And this is a new cast on, also using stash yarn. This is the Droplet Capelet by Denise Bayron of Bayron Handmade. And it's just at the very beginning, so there's not a ton to show. But it is a cowl / capelet that you can wear in multiple different ways. It's got this really tiny ribbing, and then it switches into this beautiful lace, which I've just started here. I actually just started it this morning. So I am using stash yarn, orange flower yarn. I bought this several years ago. I have 2 skeins of it. So orange flower yarn. This is her BFL silk fingering. It's 55% superwash British BFL wool, 45% silk. And the colorway is Candy Apple. Again, I don't know if she still would have this yarn, this colorway, because I purchased it so long ago. I absolutely love it. Oh, that's shadow. Oh, there. That's good. It's this really beautiful, like pinky red. It's got a little bit of tonalness to it because of the silk in there. It takes the dye differently than the BFL. It also has a little bit of a halo, thanks to the BFL. And it's got the sheen of the silk. So it's going to have beautiful drape. I'm super excited about how this project is working up. Now that I'm on to the lace portion, let's see if I can, there we go. It's a 2-round repeat. So it's pretty simple to memorize and kind of keep track of where I am. Okay, so needles, you do the ribbing in 2.25 millimeter, which is a US 1, tiny, tiny little needles. And then you switch to US 3s, 3.25 millimeter for the body. This is multi-size. She has, I think, extra small through 3X. I am knitting the XL size. I did cast on for the 3X size because I thought that was what I would need it. But the neckline of that would have been out here to my shoulders, and that was not what I was looking for. I want something that's up closer to the neck. So I have enough yarn to knit the XL, but add a little bit of length to it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Add some length to the pattern. Which it says you can do in the pattern, knit to the length you want or a certain, amount. So I'm going to do that to get it a little bit longer where I need it, but I liked this up here. So I had about 1/2 inch knit, cast on and knit of the ribbing, and I pulled it all out this week and recast it on, and this is what I've done, and I'm much, much happier with it. So this, trying to think. This is a paid for pattern. It's US $8. It's totally worth it, I think. I'm a big proponent of paying for patterns. If you've been watching for a while, you know that. Paying designers for their work. And Denise's patterns are always really well written. I like the layout. they're clear. There's lots of video instruction tutorials for anything that you might need, step-by-step instructions. So yeah, this is, look at that color. I'm just so excited about this. This will be for me, unless somebody just absolutely loves it, and then I oftentimes give things away. So that is my Droplet Capelet. And my final work in progress for this week is another new cast on, again using stash yarn. Sorry, every time I pick up my water it shakes the camera. I didn't realize it was doing that. I apologize. Okay, this one is in one of my Lila Styles bags. Meet me at Luke's. I love her bags. They're nice and canvas. It does have just kind of a plain print on the inside. Good shawl, cowl, accessory size. So much stuff in here. Okay. So this project is the Snuggle is Real cowl by Maxim Sear, also known on Instagram as Max the Knitter. He and his partner have a new podcast out called Happy Hour with Les Garçons. Okay. So here is my Snuggle is Real cowl. I'm about halfway through the color work, which is mosaic color work. And I am using 2 different colorways of Anzula Cricket. Sideways, Anzula Cricket. This is a DK base. It is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. So it is incredibly soft. I am using Colorways Charcoal as my main color. This is Madam as my contrasting, and then it will have a lined inside out of either Surrey or mohair. I'm using mohair because that's what I have in my stash. I actually don't have any Surrey in my stash, so I'm using this this kind of creamy white mohair, and this is a Legacy Fiber Arts. It's their mohair, which their mohair base is, I think, the Cloud base, and it's Colorway Vanilla Bean. So that will be the inside. And then it also has some drawstring tails, and I will knit the drawstring out of the Cloud as well. I'm really enjoying this. It is, I think it's an 8-row repeat. I do have to pay attention just so that I don't mess up the slip stitches, but I'm really enjoying working with the yarn. Again, it's been in my stash for a long time. This blue and yellow down here is just some scrap yarn. It is a provisional cast on because I will pick up these stitches at the bottom and attach them to the inner part of the lace, the mohair, so that it is a big long tube. So, okay, the Snuggle is Real. It's paid for pattern. As of today, it was $9 Canadian, which was about $7.53 US. Anzula Cricket. I'm using US 6s, which is 4mm for this part of the shawl, and then the mohair, I think portion calls for US 4, 3.5mm. It's one size, so unless you decide to add repeats, it's a one size shawl, so there's no sizing on it, or cowl. It's not a shawl, it's a cowl, and I'm really enjoying it. It calls for 13 inches of the pattern repeat. I'm not sure if I'll do quite that much. I don't have much of a neck. So I don't know that I need a full 13 inches, but we'll see how far. I'm definitely going to do more than what's here, but I'm not sure how long I will do. It's so soft. This is some of the softest yarn I've ever worked with. Again, been in my stash for multiple years, probably close to 5 years. At least the Anzula, the Legacy Fiber Arts is new, but I'm super excited about this one as well. I'm really enjoying the projects I'm working on right now are really bringing me quite a bit of joy, which is, I think, what's important in our knitting. That's the goal, right? There's lots of reasons we all knit. We all have our are reasons why, but one of the things is that it just brings me so much joy. And these projects, the ones I'm showing you today, are the things that when I think, oh, I really wish I was knitting, they're what I want to be knitting on right now. So that's what I've been working on. I haven't touched my parent sweater. If you've been around for a while, the parent sweater saga is still ongoing. They're both in the same place they were last time. I thought for sure I'd get back to them, but it's just not calling to me right now. My parents know that they're coming. They've seen them. They want them, but also we're heading into the warmer season, so it's not as vitally important that they have them right this second. So I'm just kind of enjoying knitting on some of these smaller projects. I will get back to them. I'm somebody that likes to finish projects, so don't worry if you're worried that these sweaters aren't going to get done. They will get done. They're just not done yet. Okay, that's all for FOs and whips. So I'm moving on to stash positions, which I know lots of people are not interested in. So if you're heading out now, thank you for watching. If you want to stay around, I do have some, not as much as I have in previous weeks, but I have ordered some things. And then I do have those viewer questions at the end. So if you want to stick around for that, I'll do that at the very end. Okay, so I've ordered from quite a few people in the last few weeks. A lot of it is not here yet. I ordered some things from overseas, so that stuff has not arrived yet. I actually am expecting something in the mail today, but our mail does not get here till much later in the day, and I didn't want to wait to podcast till it came. So you'll see that next time. But I have things from 3 different dyers today. So the first is something I was waiting on last time. It kind of got lost in our US mail system. This is from Teeny Button Studio, who, if you've been watching for a while, is one of my favorites. She's a dyer out of New Orleans, Robin. And this is her soft sock base, which is the 75 Superwash 25 nylon. And this is one of her newer Taylor Swift colorways. This is not a club colorway. She does have a new Taylor Swift club that starts this month. This is not a club colorway. This is Love Story, which she was inspired to dye based on Taylor Swift re-releasing her older albums under new labels. That's a whole long story that if you know, you know, and if not, go look it up. So this is Love Story. It's so soft and perfect, and I love Robin's dyeing style. So I'm super excited about that. I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. This is definitely, ooh, there's more green in there. I didn't even see that. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I'll stop making love to the Love Story. Okay. This will probably be some kind of hat or cowl. Something with a little bit of detailing, or maybe even a sock head hat, but there are a couple of hat patterns out there that are more lightweight, fingering weight patterns that have just a little bit of patterning that I think a sock yarn like this with just the speckling and the light colors would really work well with. So that's what that will be when I cast it on at some point in the future. And then one of my favorite dyers as well, Gauge Dye Works, had an update, and I'm on her newsletter. She's a hard dyer to get. Make sure you sign up for her newsletter. Go to her website if you're interested in any of the colors I show, because her shop, she stocks the shop and it sells out really quickly. But if you get the newsletter, that usually goes out before she posts it on social media. So you can usually go in and grab a skein or two if you are on that newsletter subscriber list. So again, Gauge Dye Works. Here's her label. So I got 3 skeins from her. They're all a little bit different. She does very scientific kind of dyeing, mathematical dyeing, where she dyes either stripes. She dyes yarn for children's size sweaters where the yoke is striped and then the rest of the body is one color. I showed an example of that in my previous episode. She also dyes yarn for shawls, where if you're knitting a triangular top-down shawl, all of the stripes, if you're striping it, are all the same width, and you don't have to change yarns or do any math. It should automatically, they should all be about the same width. So I got 3 different kinds. This one is Storm Cloud. It's grays with a little bit of blue and purple, and I think this does a little bit of striping. This is her classic, which again does striping or variegation in the different colors. It's coming undone. This color again is Storm Cloud, and this base is her merino twist fingering, which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and nylon. Superwash merino wool and nylon, sorry. 115 grams. So that is one. The second one I got was a skein of the sweater yarn, which again is something I just knit up in my last episode with the rainbow at the top and then the blue body. So this is her Whiskey in a Teacup colorway. So the colored parts up here will be the yoke of the sweater, and then the gray will be the body of the sweater. So Whiskey in a Teacup, this is her MCN fingering, which is 70% wool merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. So it's a nice MCN base. And again, I will knit a child-size sweater out of this. I love this color. I've never had any of this color from her shop. It's a very popular colorway, Whiskey in a Teacup. She has it in shawl and I think classic, if sometimes when she does her updates. And finally, I couldn't resist rainbow color. This one is her shawl color, or shawl yarn. So I will be knitting a shawl out of this. And this one is also her MCN, which is that same base, 70, 20, 10. This is one of her large size skeins. It is 170 grams. And the colorway on this one is Patchwork. She's been showing a shawl that she knit out of this colorway on her Instagram, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So check her out. She's Gauge Dye Works on Instagram. Sign up for her newsletter if you're interested at all in her yarn. She has beautiful colorways. This will go probably in the Pride yarn bin, though it's not for socks. And finally, one more dyer that I ordered from. Trilogy Yarns is a dyer I've heard a lot about on other podcasts, and I knew about her and I looked at her shop a couple times, Nancy over at Trilogy Yarns, but I hadn't ever purchased. But I saw a yarn on another podcast, I can't remember who it was, and I put what I was doing down, immediately went over, bought the yarn, because I had to have it. So the first I got was a skein of her DK in the Whiskey colorway, which this has been super popular. I've seen it on lots of podcasts. Several people have made coffee talk hats out of it, which is another hat by Tracie Millar that I made, I think is in the last episode as well. So I might be doing that or some other hat with this DK. I really like it. It's just a really nice caramelly brown golden color. Whiskey. And then I got 2 skeins of her Glamorous base, which is her 80-20 merino nylon. And the first one I got is Herd of Turtles, which is purple, and then got some maroon, and then this kind of, I don't know, scummy green. It's really good. So I'm excited about that. That'll probably be socks. And then finally, this is the colorway I saw on somebody else's podcast I knew I had to have. It's called Llamas and Drag. It's also the Glamorous base. And this will also go in the Pride Sockathon bin. If you're new here, Pride Sockathon is something I run every June. It's a knit along for the month of Pride, which is typically in the US celebrated in June. And I knit rainbow colored or Pride themed socks the whole month. So this will go in that. I will talk more about that. If you are interested in Pride Sockathon, I will be talking a lot more about that in the April and May episodes, but I am planning to run it this year. It'll run June 1st through June 30th, just like it did last year. There will be a few prizes. I have not decided what those prizes will be, but there will be prizes. So if you are interested, or if you did it last year and you want to do it again, I keep tuned. I will talk about that more in upcoming episodes. And that's it for stash. Much shorter. Much shorter. Okay. Knitting goals. I'm going to continue with my knitting goal from last week, which is to enjoy what I'm working on. Knit what makes you happy. Craft what makes you happy. I'm primarily a knitter, but if you do other fiber crafts, good for you. I should branch out, but knitting is where my happy place is right now. So that's what I'm going to keep going. So that's my goal for the week, for the next couple weeks, is just to continue working on things that I'm enjoying. Again, I would love to get back to my parents' sweaters. I'm hoping that is something I will enjoy in the next 2 weeks, but if it's not, I'm not gonna stress too much about it. There's too much stress in this world for other things. I don't want my knitting to stress me. So, knitting goal, knitting what makes me happy. Okay, so just a last couple things. A few viewer questions. Which is something I'm not very good about doing, but these all kind of go together, but the first is there something that you guys would like to see on the podcast that I'm not currently showing or doing, or on the channel itself? The only caveat I would say to that is I'm not planning to, nor probably will I ever have any interest in making tutorials. There are so many tutorials for knitting out there. I am not a great teacher. That's not my forte, and I don't have the equipment or the desire to make tutorials. So I can usually point somebody in the direction of a great tutorial for different things, but not something that I'm interested in doing. But if there's other things that you would be interested in seeing, please let me know. One of the things I had thought about was doing a whip or bag parade. So you can kind of see back here, over there, I have a bag tree, and then I have behind the camera, I have a whole corner of the room that's bags. Sitting behind me, there's a whole stack of bags, all filled with either works in progress or yarn and needles caked up and ready to go, or yarn just thinking I would get something started, and I haven't. So I need to clear some of those out and go through them, and I was wondering if that was something you guys would be interested in me filming. I know other podcasters have done something similar, and I really enjoy those kinds of things to kind of do. Are you going to finish it? Are you going to frog it? Are you going to put the yarn back on the wall? What are you going to do with it? So if that is something you guys would be interested in, please make a comment below the video. And then also lots of other podcasters talk about these things. I have not jumped into this ring yet, but if there are other interests, I'm a big reader. I do watch some television, and I love to cook. So I do that a lot. If those are things that you would like me to talk about a little bit more, maybe a recipe or what I'm reading or what show I'm currently watching, please let me know. I really enjoy watching those things on other people's podcasts, but I haven't ever felt like that should be something, or I don't know, that's not the right word, but I don't know if that's something that my viewers would be interested in. If it is, or you have other suggestions about what I could talk about, please put them in the comments below. I try to respond to all comments as quickly as they come in. I can't always, but I do try. And I really appreciate every comment, every thumbs up, every subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. I do this because I want to share my love of knitting and yarn with the community, and it's always such a pleasure to see that there are members of the community that enjoy it just as much as I do. And on that note, the last thing I want to talk about is, I talk about this on my Instagram a lot, but I run a group called Omaha Knit Night, which started as a local knitting night here in town a couple of years ago. It's almost 2 years now. But last year, because of the pandemic, we moved to completely virtual, and we're going to continue to be virtual for the foreseeable future. And because it's virtual, everyone is welcome. So no matter where you live, if you are available during the times that we host Knit Night, and you have access to the internet, it's free. We meet for 2 hours at a time. We meet Thursdays and Sundays. The times are always posted on my personal Instagram and on my Omaha Knit Night Instagram, which I will put here for you so you can find it there. That's the only thing I post on Omaha Knit Night, is about the meetups. Everybody is welcome. We are truly global. We have people from North America and South America who join us regularly now. So everybody is welcome. If you've been interested, or if you're looking for a knit night and you don't have one, everybody's welcome. I will say that we do have a zero tolerance policy on any form of racism, homophobia, bigotry, xenophobia. Any of that is not welcome in our group. So I will say that. That's true of my podcast. That's true of my Instagram spaces. If there's a Facebook page for Omaha Knit Night, all of that is true for all of those spaces. So while I do say all are welcome, I really want to make sure that my spaces are safe spaces for marginalized members of our community. And if you feel like it's not, please reach out to me. I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in the group, especially those marginalized members of society. I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, I know a little bit of what that's like. Not completely, but it's really important to me that all members of our community feel like they can come to these groups and be included in our conversations. And we talk about yarn and knitting and crafting, and we talk about all kinds of other things too. So if you are at all interested and looking for a knit night, please feel free to join us. Right now our knit nights aren't very big. Sometimes we only have 4 to 5 people. Other times we have 10 to 12. It just depends on the night. Again, Thursday nights and Sunday afternoons. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me or leave a comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I think that's it. I think I finally covered everything. It's a little longer than I thought it would be, but I think we got everything in there. So hopefully you guys are all having a good few weeks and you're getting vaccinated and you're still staying safe and social distancing. And I hope to be back in just a couple of weeks. Until then,